Alrighty. Pythagorean theorem in word problems. So you might need a spare piece of paper for scratch paper or work. You might be able to fit it here, but you do need to have answers on here. Each problem, make sure you circle your answer so I know where your answer is. There is a rope running from the top of a flagpole to a hook on the ground. The flagpole is 6 meters high. The hook is 8 meters from the base. 8 meters from the base. How long is the rope? Well, here is my rope. So we would have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals our hypotenuse. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. 36 plus 64 is 100. The opposite of squaring would be to square root it. So the rope is 10 feet. A wire is stretched from the top of an 8-foot pole to a bracket 5 feet from the base of the pole. How long is the wire? So 8 squared plus 5 squared, because it's the sum of your legs, equal your hypotenuse. We have 64 plus 25. So we have 89. It does say round to the nearest foot. So if we square root it, square root of 89 is 9.4. To the nearest foot would be 9 feet. However, yeah, that probably is right, because the rope, the wire is 9 feet, but it's stretched, and there's probably some stretch in the wire, so 9 feet. Mrs. Thornton is teaching a fifth grade class. She is standing 15 meters in front of Hillary, and Avacia is sitting 8 meters to Hillary's right. So we have teacher is 15 feet in front of Hillary, and Hillary is 8 feet to the right of Avacia. How far is the teacher and Avacia? So we have 15 squared plus 8 squared equals our hypotenuse squared. 15 squared is 225. 25. 8 squared is 64. So we have 9, 6, 7, 8, 289. The opposite of squaring would be to square root it. And the square root of 289 is 17. 17 meters. Number 4. A 20-foot ladder leaning against a wall is used to reach a window that is 17 feet high. So here's my window. It is 17 feet high, and the ladder is 20 feet. How far from the wall is the bottom of the ladder? We are missing a leg here, so we're going to have something squared. It could be our A, it could be the B, but that leg squared plus 17 squared equals 20 squared. Well, we just did the square root of 289 and it was 17. So 17 squared is 289. 20 squared is 400. Well, in order to get our leg squared by itself, our unknown, we need to do the opposite of what's being done, which is addition. So we have 400 minus 289. 111. And the opposite of squaring this would be to square root it. Whoops. The square root of 111 is round to the nearest tenth. So we have 10 and a half. 10 and 5/10 feet. Number 5. How far from the base of a house do you need to place a 15-foot ladder so that it exactly reaches the top of a 12-foot wall? So here's my wall. It is 12 feet. Here is my ladder. It is 15 feet. Again, our unknown is this base. So we have our base squared. Up here I did a question mark. You can do a question mark. You can do B. Really, it does not matter. Plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. So we still don't know what this is, but we know 144 and 15 squared is 225. We need B by itself, so I'm going to subtract 144. Five minus 4 is 1. Borrow, we got 12 minus 4 is 8, so 81. Square root of 81 would be 9 feet. A fire truck parked 16 feet from a building. Here's my building. Fire truck is 16 feet. The ladder extends its 30-foot ladder to the very top of the building. My ladder is 30 feet. How tall is the building? We don't know how tall it is. So we have to solve. So we have, I'm going to just use A squared plus 16 squared equals 30 squared. 16 squared is 256. 30 squared is 900. I need my variable by itself, so I'm going to subtract our known value. $644. The opposite of squaring would be 2 square root. Round to the nearest tenth. So we would have 25 and 4/10 feet. Next page, number 7. An anchor line in a tower needs to be replaced. The anchor line is 105 feet tall, and the tower is 56 feet tall. So we know the height is not 56, it's 96. How far from the tower should the line be placed? Well, the line is 105. So our unknown is this base length. So our base squared, it's our leg, plus 96 squared equals 105 squared. 96 squared. 9216. 105 squared. 11025. We need our variable by itself, so let's do some subtraction. So I already have it there. I'm going to do minus 9216. So our b squared, or the base squared, equals 1,809. Square root it. Round to the nearest tenth. So we would have 42 and 5/10 feet. Renee has a square quilt. Each side of this quilt is 60 inches. So we have a square quilt. We have 60. We have 60. She wants to put a ribbon from one corner to the other. One corner to the other. How long should the ribbon be? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we have 60 squared plus 60 squared equals our hypotenuse, because we're trying to go from corner to corner, squared. 60 squared, I believe, is 360? 3,600. When we have two of them, I just did times 2 instead of plus 3,600. So we have 7200 equals c squared. So the square root of it, because that's the opposite of squaring, is a decimal, and it says round to the nearest tenth. So we have 84 and 9/10 inches. A diagonal fence is put through a rectangular garden. So here's my rectangular garden. The garden is 20 feet long, 12 feet wide. How long should the fence be? And the fence goes diagonally across it. So our fence length, 20 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. 20 squared is 400. 12 squared is 144. Add them, we get 544. Square root of 544. 544 is a decimal, and it says round to the nearest tenth, so we would have 23 3/10 feet. A baseball diamond is a square that is 90 feet on each side. Baseball diamond. 90 feet. 90 feet. What is the distance from home plate's down here, to second base? Second base would be up here. So what is this distance? Well, this is a right angle. So we have 90 squared plus 90 squared equals c squared. Well, 90 squared is 8,100. Let's double check. 8,100. We have two of them. 8,100, 8,100. 16,200. And the opposite of squaring our hypotenuse would be to square root it. Round each answer to the nearest tenth. So we need to round this to the nearest tenth, which would be 127 3/10. 127 3/10 feet. David leaves the house to go to school. He walks 20 meters west and 200 meters west, 125 meters north. So we have never eat shredded wheat. So if he starts here and he walks 200 meters west and then 125 meters north, how far is he from his starting point? So this is his house. This is the school. How far is he? 200 squared plus 125 squared. So instead of writing both these down, because that would be 4,000 squared, I'm just going to type them both in here the way I have it. 200 squared plus 125 squared. So I have 5,5,625. 55,625. The opposite of squaring, to get my variable by itself, would be to square root it. So I'm going to square root it. Round to the nearest tenth. I have an 8 followed by a 4, so it's going to stay at 8. 235 8/10 meters. A laptop screens are determined by the diagonal portion of the screen. So here's my laptop. Round each answer to the nearest whole number. Laptop has 10 inches wide and 8 inches tall. Sorry, that's not a very straight diagonal. What is its size by its diagonal? So we have 8 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. We have 64 plus 100. So 164 equals c squared because I added them. Square root of 164. Round to the nearest whole number. Square root 164. 12.8. Nearest whole number would be 13. Next page. Perry takes a rectangular piece of fabric and cuts one corner from one corner to the opposite corner. So we have a rectangle piece of fabric. The piece of fabric is 12 centimeters long, 9 centimeters wide. What is the diagonal? 12 squared plus 9 squared equals c squared. 12 squared is 144. 9 squared is 81. 144 plus 81 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 125. No. 225. I need to carry the 1. Sorry. Let's double check. 144 plus 81. 225. We'll see squared. Square root them. And 15 centimeters. Because the square root of 225 is 15. A mouse has made a hole in opposite corners of a rectangular kitchen. Here's my rectangular kitchen. Here's mouse hole 1, mouse hole 2. The width of the kitchen is 4 meters. And the distance between mouse holes is 7 meters. What is the length of the kitchen? So, if you've noticed, when we've had one where we are missing one of these, we end up subtracting the hypotenuse from the leg that's known. So if you're missing a leg, you can write the equation as b squared, or whatever one you're missing, a or b, does not matter, equals your hypotenuse minus your other leg. It's doing the same thing, but it's taking one step away. So 7 squared is 49. 4 squared is 16. 49 minus 16 is 33. Square root. It doesn't say to round or anything. But every other one was round to the nearest tenth, so that's what we're going to do. So 5 7/10 meters. An oak tree is 12 meters tall. There's my oak tree. Oak tree, 12 meters tall. And a bird is standing on the ground 5 meters away from the tree. There's my bird. If the bird flies directly to the top of the tree, how far will it fly? 12 squared plus 5 squared, these are both legs, equals how far he flies, or the hypotenuse length. 12 squared is 144. 5 squared is 25. 144 plus 25 is 169. Opposite of squaring would be to square root it. So the bird flies 13 meters. 2 window washers, Brenda and Diane, lean a ladder against the side of a building so that Brenda can wash her window while Diane holds the ladder. The top of the ladder reaches the window, which is 12 feet off the ground. Here's my window. It is 12 feet off the ground. The base of the ladder is 9 feet from the building. Base of my ladder is 9 feet. How long is the ladder? 12 squared plus 9 squared. Adding the sum of my legs squared equals its height. 12 squared is 144. 9 squared is 81. 144 plus 81. We have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Carry my 1. 225. Square root of 225 is 15 feet. Number 17. Maya is decorating a bathroom ceiling with garland. The width of the rectangular ceiling is 16 meters, so rectangular. And the diagonal distance from one corner to the opposite corner is 20 meters. How much garland will Maya need for the length of the ceiling? Our length are unknown. Remember when we had an unknown up here? We can do the hypotenuse minus the leg you do have. You can keep it in the same order, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It takes one step away when we do this right as a subtracting problem. So the length of the ceiling equals your hypotenuse squared minus your leg squared. 20 squared is 400. 16 squared, I think, is 256. 256. When you subtract them, 400 minus 256, the length is 144. Square root that. The length of the ceiling is 12 meters. Last page. On a school playground, the slide is 15 feet due west of the tire swing and 8 feet due south of the monkey bars. What is the distance between the tire swing and the monkey bars? Never eat shredded wheat. Okay, the slide. We're going to say the slide is here. It is 15 feet west of the tire swing. So there's 15. And 8 feet south of the monkey bars. What is the distance between the tire swing and the monkey bars? So we're going to have 15 squared plus 8 squared equals our hypotenuse squared. 15 squared is 225. 8 squared is 64. 225 plus 64, 289. Square root of 289 is 17. I missed writing a step. Square root them, and 17 feet. From his home, Manuel would have to walk due north to get to his friend Levi's house and due east to get to his friend Kenneth's house. It is 6 meters from Manuel's house to Kenneth's house and a straight line distance of 10 meters from Levi's to Kenneth's. How far is Manuel's house from Levi's house? Okay, so Manuel goes north to Levi's to get to his friend Levi's house, and east to get to Kenneth's house. I think this is in the wrong order. Oh, so Manuel would have to walk north to get to Levi's house and east to get to Kenneth's house. 6 meters from Manuel's house to Kenneth's house. And a straight line distance from Levi's house to Kenneth's house is 10 meters. How far is Manuel's house to Levi's house? So this one we're missing a leg. So we're going to have our leg squared is equal to our hypotenuse minus our other leg. So we now have a squared is equal to 100 minus 36, which is 64. And if we square root those, we get 8. So 8 kilometers. Last question. Ryan is putting a clothing line in his rectangular backyard. Picture's already drawn. He wants to put it between 2 trees on the edge of the property. He measured his property and made a sketch below, where all the lengths listed are in meters. What is the smallest length of rope that Ryan could buy, which would stretch from one tree to the other? First off, do we have a right triangle? We don't. So we have to make one. We know this length, or we don't know this length. This is our unknown. We know this length from here to here is 20 feet. And we know from here to here is 10 feet. This whole length is 25. We have it right here. What is this length going to be then? 10 plus what is 25? Makes this one 15. So we have 20 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared. So now we have 400 plus 225 equals c squared. 400 plus 225 is 625. The opposite of squaring would be to square root it. Oh, that's going to give us an error. Square root of 625 is 25. Equals c. So our length from here to here is measured in meters. So 25 meters. All of these, when you turn this paper in, if you're watching the video, if you're not watching the video, I hope you do all your work. If you are watching the video, you need to have all your work. I went through and I drew triangles for all of them, or rectangles if it was a rectangle with a diagonal through it. I showed all my work. You can show all your work. When you are done with this, if you have time, log on to the GimKit assignment that's posted.